Hello, monsters abound here. A few weeks ago, Creative Assembly let me get my sticky paws on the upcoming Total War Troy, the new Total War Saga title that's been released in August. We got to play a battle between Achilles and Hector outside the walls of Troy, which was very exciting. We then got to ask some questions of the developers. So upcoming in the video is a battle as Hector, followed by a battle as Achilles, and finally the Q&A session that we got to take part in. We didn't take part in the same Q&A session. We were split into different groups because of COVID-19. It was all online and we were in different QA groups. So if you're interested, definitely go and check out some other content creators because they might have asked completely different questions to the ones that our group asked. Now, before we get into it, there is a giant wooden horse in the room. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Did they model Achilles' physique on mine? Well, no, but it's so close you might well make that mistake. Oh, and the Epic Game Store stuff. If you've not heard already, Total War Troy is going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive title for a year, so you won't be able to play it via Steam. It will also be free to keep if you download it on release day. Yes, that's right. If you download it on release day on the Epic Game Store, you don't pay anything and you can keep it forever, which is pretty cool. However, I realise that some people have misgivings about the Epic Game Stores. Okay, so when we heard about it just before the announcement was made live, I instantly had a bit of a sinking feeling, not because I have any particular dislike of the Epic Game Store. Personally, not bothered by it. I know that will infuriate some people, but that's just my personal take on it. I'm just not that bothered about the Epic Game Store. Why I had a sudden intake of breath was because I knew it was going to cause a lot of drama. Personally, the only issue as I see it, and that means me personally again, is that once it's on Steam, you won't be able to multiplayer against people on the other platform. As I don't, play multiplayer, that's kind of a moot point for me. Now, Creative Assembly have said we are totally free as Total War partners and content creators to criticise them for their decision, as long as we don't spread misinformation or target individual employees. They are more than happy, and they said this, for us to criticise them. So with that in mind, I do have a criticism. That's it. It'll take slightly longer to start the game up because I don't load the Epic Game Store by default like I do with Steam, so I'm going to have to wait slightly longer for it to start up. But then I'm getting this game for free. Well, everyone is, I guess. Still, I realise there are people who will be legitimately upset by this decision, which is fine. It's just I'm not. I've already seen comments calling other content creators shills for not calling out Creative Assembly on this decision, which isn't fair because, yes, we get Total War games and DLC for free. We have a relationship with Creative Assembly, but we disclose that relationship, and Creative Assembly have said they don't care if we take a stand against the decision. I could declare I'm not playing it and will refuse a key, and Creative Assembly wouldn't give a flying toss. Plus, if I'm going to sell out, I'd want more than a frigging game key. It's called selling out for a reason. I'm happy to sell out, but Daddy needs a new desk. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is Creative Assembly offered to buy me a really nice new desk. I'd happily spout whatever they wanted me to say. But as it is, I'm still using this rickety death trap and having to make my own stupid decisions, I guess. At least until this desk collapses and kills me. Anyway, without further ado, on to the good stuff. See Achilles' force moving up in the distance over the very, very pretty battlefield. Nice to see some actual terrain coming in for once. That's nice. And there go some of our archers. They've got some very piffy hats. Some of these lads have got some very, very nice headgear that I am very jealous about. So we've got the guards of Troy here. These guards, they have big old bobble shields, which is neat, and they can switch their shields off, so they have an ability where they can put their shields on the back and then they carry their spear in two hands. They grab both the shaft with both hands, big firm grasp. And over here we've got these arseholes. These are the chariots. I hate them so much. In previous battles they have caused me no end of trouble, and as such I'm going to kill them with arrows. Shut up, you. And these horses have seen too much. Look at their terrified stares. So yeah, I've played this a few times. We had two different versions to play. This is the hard version, and this is the only time I won it. Previous times the chariots have caused me horrendous damage, and as such we're going to deal with them first. Backing the chariots up is the Myrmidons. Some swordsmen there, some more swordsmen, some pelagic Thessalians. and they're going to be heading into the mud. Mud, one of 3 new terrain types that the game has. There's mud, which slows units down, apart from light units. There's also this high grass, like this, where you can hide light units in. And there's also sand. I don't know what sand does, but no doubt it's coarse, it gets everywhere, and I hate it. The chariot's braking and running away. They're no longer a problem, thank goodness. We're taking a little bit of fire there, but the guards of Troy are going to stand firm in the face of that. Meanwhile, we've got some champions of Troy, sort of like heavy boys. These guys have got some have got little horns in their hats. That's pretty cool. They're going to be clashing against. I get a little bit of lag here every single time in the replay, and I don't entirely know why. It must be something going on, but the actual battle was silky smooth, despite the fact that I've got everything whacked up to full. I do have quite a tanky computer though, so probably not massively surprising. The spear fighters clashing with some spearmen. The spear fighters do exactly what it says on the tin. They've got spears, they poke people with them. That's how they work. Meanwhile, we've also got some Trojan defenders who are clubbing people to death with clubs. Apart from that guy, he took a dive. At the back here, we've got some Hector's Chosen no doubt for their delightful purple armor. Look at that, they look fabulous. So they're charging in to back up the Trojan defenders. We've got some champions of Pythia on Achilles' side with some fabulous hats. Again, the hats in this game are chef kiss. I mean, what can you say? Over on the far left flank, we've got my favourite unit, the Minotaur. That's right, he's just a big old boy with a big old axe, and he's wearing a skull for a hat. Fair enough, you know, if you got it, flaunt it, that's what I say. Renowned swordsman chasing down what remains of the Thusulian Marines. And that means we can now flank around. Because, and this is the important thing, oh, here comes some Savage Centaur warriors who have crashed into our rear. Fortunately, they're not doing very much damage. Cavalry, very limited in Total War Troy. It's all about the infantry battles. All about the infantry battles, because, well, in this period, they just didn't have much cavalry, to be honest. It was mostly chariots. Not much in the way of actual cavalry units available. I guess they just didn't have the horses. So, infantry, super important in this game. And as such, there's 3 different varieties: heavy, medium, and light. Basically, heavy is there to do the tanking. Medium is to do some light sort of flanking, and the light units are there to get around behind the enemy units, because they're going to be slightly faster. Get in, maybe have javelins and stuff, hit them in the rear. The battle's often won during skirmishing, apparently. Although I have found personally that it does tend to just end up in a big brawl, where hopefully you've got the units surrounded, as particularly the heavy units seem very, very tanky. It takes a lot to take out a heavy infantry unit, I've found. Meanwhile, it looks like Hector and Achilles. There's Achilles in his Ponzi gold armor. I guess Hector's wearing gold armor as well. So they're having a little duel at the moment. Achilles has an ability that will force a duel. And Hector's currently out of control. So Achilles can force a duel. They've all got different abilities. They have basically 5 different abilities that affect either themselves or their units or enemy units. And they can be used by gaining rage, which is gained by fighting. And once they've used enough abilities, they get this Aristia effect, which makes them, I believe it makes them unbreakable and unkillable, effectively, for about 30 seconds. And Aristia is an interesting, it's an interesting sort of thing. I'm going to put a link to a fantastic podcast series in the description. Oh, there goes Achilles. He bopped. I'll put a link to that podcast in the description. But I did see some other combat animations, particularly some finishing moves I did manage to capture in some of the other battles. So the Aristia is basically sort of a dramatic convention when some of the heroes and warriors in the Iliad basically lose their shit and get stuff done. Probably the most famous example is Achilles single-handedly taking on the Trojan army after the death of his cousin at Hector's hands, and then he even goes on to kill Hector and then just drag him around the city on the back of a chariot, because I guess that's a healthy way to work out your aggression. I guess, maybe. The Minotaur he's so great. I love the Minotaur, mostly because he's basically impossible to kill. The Obviously, I've played both sides, and when I'm playing as Achilles, the only time I've managed to kill him is when I filled him full of javelins, and that was literally the only time I managed to kill him. He only seems to be vulnerable to extreme acupuncture, and that's about it. Oh my god, he's so good. I love the Minotaur. Now, the Myrmidons are unbreakable, so basically they'll fight into the last, which kind of dragged out this battle a little bit longer than maybe it should have been, but you did get to see all the lovely sort of like duels going on between the different units, which I loved. It's so good. It looks so pretty. Champions of Pity. I don't think these guys are unbreakable. I think they just didn't want to leave. Flanking defense improved. There we go. Oh, they are unbreakable. There we go. So Achilles has quite a few unbreakable units, which you just end up having to sort of like slog your way through. But we are slowly getting there. Hector does have an ability where he can heal himself up. He's also got, you can see he's got Divine Focus there, which is, I believe that ability is one that costs rage every second, I think. So basically you can use it while you've got the rage. I guess if you're in combat and that's the only ability you're using, you might be able to use it for longer. Hector is a very, very tanky character, and he, I mean, he can rack up the kills given the chance. I'm not sure sort of how balanced the hero characters are yet, but so far so good. And yeah, Minotaur definitely best unit. This was the one and only time I managed to defeat Achilles in hard, and as you can see, it was actually pretty close. And there's the Aristea going off because I finally realised I could actually use it. And that is going to mean let's just pause it a second so we can check out what that means. So Aristea increases his armor by 20%, his melee attack by 30%, freeze vigor, so basically he won't get tired. He's unbreakable and he has no cooldowns. That's pretty good. So basically he will just kill until that wears off. So that works. He's going to need it because these Myrmidons, they just don't quit, do they? Well, these are Pythians, but you know what I mean. Go back to Greece, where you belong. So this time we're fighting Hector with Achilles, and it's a lot harder this way round for some reason. So I'm having to be a little bit sneaky about it. So we're going to try and use tactics, that's right. Now, I don't often do this because, you know, I know Total War content creators that use tactics, and in my opinion they're all cowards. But I've hidden some units, some light units, in this sort of like high grass. Hope none of them got hay fever. And we're going to wait until Hector's forces pass by, and then we're going to hit them in the flank with our light units. That's the plan anyway. Our chariots and our Savage Centaur warriors have sort of like tried to give these units the slip. We're going to come around behind these units and hopefully sort of like catch them in three ways and then crush them. That's the plan anyway. It's a plan. I mean, you'll see how it works out. So they've got the range advantage, so we're going to start advancing. That's fine though, because we're about to get spotted anyway as these Trojan warriors start to... Yeah, there we go, we've been spotted, so our units now coming out of the high grass, javelins focusing round. Now probably what I shouldn't have done is use my javelins on the Trojan warriors. Probably should have used them on the heavy Trojan spearmen. But you can see a bit of a clash going on there. Our spear fighting Myrmidons engaging the spear fighters. That should be a battle that they can win. Our chariots coming in and around behind these units. They are being healed up by Hector, but our cavalry and chariots should be able to do enough damage. I say that, my chariots don't seem to have done any damage and are now getting their ass kicked. Never mind. But they are coming back. There's Achilles in the middle of the fight. The chariot's coming in round behind and gets... Oh, look at that. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Not really doing much damage though, but it should be noted that your chariots don't get hung up on your units anymore. Look how they just kind of like slip through them. Very, very nice. So we're trying to do some damage here. It's not working out very well. The javelins on the right flank have done their business. Look at this. We managed to do a lot of damage to the Trojan forces, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem like it's enough. Our javelins are starting to run low and we're just not doing enough damage to the enemy units. In fact, some of our spearfighting Myrmidons are getting extreme acupuncture to the back. Probably should have been a little bit more careful there. The Savage Centaur warriors have pulled out of an engagement with some Trojan defenders, trying to engage some of these Trojan defenders instead. Get a little charge there, but do basically no damage. Achilles is in the middle. So far he's killed 15, and it's just not really... He's just getting pummeled. He's not doing very well. Oh dear. Oh dear. The Renowned Pythian Spears seem to be doing okay on this flank. I think thanks to the chariots. Maybe I should have tried to do some more sort of like rear charges with the chariots. They did seem to get stuck and then broke. Trying to do a frontal charge here, see how that works. Wasn't too bad. Managed to break through. That was okay. Generally, we got some Thessalians here. Thessalians fighting the heavy Trojan spearmen. That's not good. They're also getting shot by archers. The javelins are now out of ammo, so we're bringing them back to try and do something. I mean, you know, charge everyone in the rear and hope for the best, I guess. So that's a little, so these. Oh right. So the Hector's chosen immune to flanking. Their flanking attacks improves. Okay, so they're very much a flanking force. Can we get the Trojan defenders? So these guys are just heavy infantry. They just sit there and tank it. But despite that, they seem to be doing okay. They're kind of surrounded, although I guess they did kill everyone on the front line. So I guess they're no longer surrounded because they're now just killing everyone behind them. So that's fine. Yeah, well, I'm not massively surprised, to be honest. I think I'd be running away if I was them as well. Can't really blame them. Achilles is up to 23 kills. He's also got Ares Rage, so he's got 150% weapon damage. And he's unbreakable and berserk. So he's lost his shits. Which would be fine if we had more units. But we don't, because all of our units are dead, dying, or running away. The only units that aren't are the Myrmidons, and that's because they're unbreakable. So there's that, I guess. Well, it was a spirited attempt, and it was the closest I came to winning this battle on hard. I think I'm a pretty good commander generally, and I think that tactic was sound. Maybe if I just, like, you know, pulled it off with a bit more finesse, maybe it would have worked out better. Never mind. Unfortunately, all my boys are dead. Well, most of them. Achilles is a little bit surrounded. I mean, he's killed 31. It's just, I mean, it's not very impressive, Achilles, to be honest. You're supposed to be the Lubu of the ancient Greek world, and you're getting the shit kicked out of you. Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so on to the Q&A section. Now, I should flag up what we played might well change between now and release. The battle map preview we got to play as part of the Three Kingdoms release felt very different when we played it compared to what we got at release. There were a multitude of changes to the game in that time. I think I remember Sun Ren, for example, literally just hacking her way through wave upon wave of men, like racking up like 600 or 700 kills in a battle. Obviously that wasn't the case at release, so what we saw here could well change. So anyway, so the first question I asked was, I quite like interesting battle maps. I often say this, and that some Total War titles have some quite boring map. So I asked if the battle map we played on, i.e. the Plains of Troy, was representative of what we can expect in the campaign. The devs said yes, because the battles were predominantly infantry based. It was important to make the maps as interesting to play on. So they've actually said they updated the AI to better use the terrain and to also use the special terrain. And that the map that we played on is in the campaign, and it's what we would fight if we had a battle outside of Troy. And actually said that the map that we played on is based on the sort of terrain that is believed to have been there at the actual time of the Trojan War. So it's actually a little bit more plain than most of the battle maps. How accurate this is, I think we'll have to see. I hope the AI can use the terrain effectively. I mean, that would be a huge step up for the Total War franchise. So I also asked if the map that we played on, which of course has Troy off in the distance, was the Troy we would fight in during a siege. So yes, they said yes, that is the city. Obviously the battle of the city itself would take place around and inside the city, and would have the city has multiple layers of defenses, lots of defenses, towers, and so on. That it doesn't grow in size, so you won't get slightly different sizes of Troy depending on sort of like what the upgrade system is in the campaign. Obviously we didn't see that, but I presume there probably is one. But the battle map is going to stay static. However, there are certain narrative situations, such as like an earthquake might create breaches in the walls, which apparently will have a different AI as well, or even that you might sneak a certain wooden structure into the city and the battle will start inside the city at night with the gates open. But these narrative situations only apply to the city of Troy itself. And they also said that some of the minor settlements evolve over time, and by the sounds of it, the minor settlements, the battles will take place actually inside the settlements, sort of in the streets of the settlements which don't have walls. I asked another stupid question because I was under the assumption Greeks didn't really use walls. I kind of, from what I understood, they were sort of a raiding civilization. They didn't really, when they came up against the walls of Troy, they were like, what the shit is this? But no, in fact, the devs just looked at me like I was an idiot and said, no, the Greeks had walls. So the Greek cities have walls. That's that done. Not just Troy. There was a question about if the 8 different factions in Troy will play differently, and they said yes. So Achilles focuses more on sort of fast charging light units, generally covered in baby oil. I've just assumed that part. And that Troy uses a lot of heavy defensive infantry, so the factions are different, which is nice. And will all the heroes be balanced? So Achilles is supposed to be stronger than most of the heroes, as he was in, I say history, but sort of the Iliad. But even Odysseus will be on par with other heroes, and each hero will have a unique skill tree. Although heroes will share abilities, each sort of set of potential abilities and their order will be unique to the individual heroes. Although having said that, it was pretty unanimous amongst the content partners that Hector was considerably stronger than Achilles in the battle we got to play. However, again, there is that caveat of that things do change over time, so we'll see. So I asked, can heroes ride chariots? And the answer was yes, they can ride chariots, and they can dismount during battle. If the chariot takes too much damage, it will break and the hero will jump off. And that they get the ability to ride different types of chariot based on their skill trees. And some abilities can only be used off of the chariot. The Aristia, for example, can't be used while they're on a chariot. There's also a question, are heroes such as the Minotaur unique to certain factions? So in the campaign, no mythic unit, which is things like the Minotaur, the Centaurs, I think you see the Cyclops, that kind of thing. So they are not assigned to any particular faction. They can be recruited either from particular locations on the map or from the System of the Gods mechanic. The mythic units are apparently limited, I believe was what they said. So for example, it would be very rare to have 2 Minotaurs in your faction at any one time. But some of the other mythic units are slightly more common. Some factions have an easier time of acquiring particular mythic units because because a mythic unit is recruited from a certain area that they might already start with under their control, or that they maybe the System of the Gods they're sort of veering in that direction anyway. So the factions are more likely to have a particular type of mythic unit, but they are not exclusive. And that was the end of the Q&A, and it should be said that the devs were really wanted to focus on the infantry gameplay with the heavy medium and liked playing off against each other. Now I love infantry battles, so I have high hopes it works out. From what I saw during the battles, I feel like the heavy infantry was the strongest. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But with that said, again, the caveat that things can change. I'm sure things are being tweaked. I think they took a lot of what we fed back to them about the battle as well. So they've taken that on board as well. So hopefully, you know, we'll see that. And obviously it was one battle as well. We had literally, I had about 3 hours with it. Which is, you know, longer than you usually get with it, but really not that long to kind of get your head around all the different units that you get to play with, and sort of playing with the new abilities and stuff. So it could be that I just didn't have enough time with it. Could be that there's some tweaking is needed. But I really enjoyed what I got to play, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Total War Troy. Thanks for watching.